Hey everybody, hope everybody's having a good week so far and getting ready to have a Merry Christmas. I just wanted to do an update on my white E150 I started an engine swap on. Haven't been really putting any videos out because, well, I've crushed my hand, so I've been doing everything with one hand. Managed to rip a whole big chunk out of my palm, but it's starting to heal up and the bruising's going away. Still a little swollen and sore, but that's a story for another time. Me and a drive shaft got in a fight, but I'm waiting on a drive shaft for it. That's all I'm waiting on now. The 300's already out of it. I actually had the engine sold before I had it pulled out. Let's see. As you can see, got the motor in it. Throttle linkage is done. Got my C6 automatic built by Michael Livingston. He's a great transmission guy. But got my 3-bar GT40 headed 351 in this thing with the 650 double pumper. Got my Hooker 6910 long tube headers. Had to figure out a dipstick. I actually found that because the dipstick on this engine, since it's a late model 351, it actually goes in the block, not in the pan. And there's not a whole lot of options for it, but you can actually use a low-car dipstick for a 5-liter that's press in the block style, but then you kind of come up short with your bracket, so I actually made another bracket to make it work. It reads perfect. And then I used a Ford Racing transmission dipstick. I don't mind having to pull the doghouse to check fluids. It doesn't really bother me too much. I just don't like trying to use old crusty stuff that's bent and ruined. And I got gauges in it. I have a tachometer that was donated by a friend I need to put in, but I took the ugly old hole that had the CD player from 1997 in it and was able to actually put this gauge cluster in, so everything's hooked up for it. It's an old vintage, I think it's a Hawk brand gauge cluster that my dad gave me. And it goes with the rest of the van. Finishing some stuff up on the column. Literally, it's ready to start. I just need the drive shaft so I can put transmission fluid in it. The converter's primed, but I'll need to, actually put something in the transmission. So the drive shaft should be done Monday. But my engine's in. Fits pretty good. You can see I've cleaned things up a lot. There's really not a whole lot of extra anything. It's manual steering now. I've converted it to manual steering. Yes, you can get manual boxes for them. I've also converted it back over to standard rotation with a Summit brand alternator bracket. So this thing is super Spartan. There's nothing on it. I am waiting. It'd be fine to run around like this to start, but the fan I would like a lot closer to the radiator. That's only a 2-inch spacer. I've got a 4-inch spacer coming for it, which should get me pretty close in the ballpark, and then I can start figuring a shroud out. But I mean, it's ready to start. It's all there, and I kind of ran into one problem. The C6, I've totally forgot about the shift arms on the transmission. Well, I'm not pulling the valve body to swap shift arms, and the column shifter is sloppy and wore out anyway. I'll be taking the actual shift lever off probably sometime this weekend, and it'll just be there. So in the meantime, this is the solution to all my problems right here. Here's my TCI Lightning stick that my dad scored for me. The thing is sweet. That ought to really help my prowess as a bracket racer, but it's in there, looking real good. It should be a pretty strong engine. I mean, pretty mild cam, 207, 217 at 50, 477 lift intake and exhaust on a 112 with a 108 intake center line, but it's got the mildly ported 3-bar GT40s, a good set of long tubes, a performer intake with a 1-inch open spacer, 650 double pumper, good ignition system, well-built engine, 9-to-1 compression. It should be 350, 360 horsepower, something like that. There's my big aluminum radiator. I learned the hard way with the Astro running hot. I'm not going to chance it with a factory radiator. But everything went together. It took a little bit of experimentation and a little bit of time, but it's all there. It's got a mini starter on it now. Got headers. As you can see, it's a pretty good looking unit. Pretty nice. I am really looking forward to being able to drive it. I got my shifter all set up, and Professor P gave me some advice on how to adjust the cable and stuff, which worked great. So there's reverse, neutral. See if I remember how to do this. That's right. There we go. Try and do this with one hand, which I guess you're supposed to. First, second, third. Yeah. Never really had a shifter like this. It's going to take some getting used to, but should really should help me out in bracket and make it a little more consistent. But overall, it's turned out to be really nice. The van's still really rough, but at least it's got a nice engine in it, and hopefully it'll be burying the speedometer in second gear. The next thing up, once I get the drive shaft in it and get it broke in, I'll be putting a gear in it. I'm going to swap the 308 open for a Ford Racing limited slip with a set of 373s in it. So with the 308s, this thing should be in the low 9s and the 8th, I'd imagine, but I'd really like this thing to crack some 8s, so we will see. I've taken a lot of weight out of it. I've been weighing stuff as I take it off. I've probably got this thing about 260 to 280 pounds lighter, something like that. Not quite 300, but pretty close. I'll be putting new coil springs and shocks and new rear shocks on it. And when I pulled this thing in to swap the engine, this coil spring over here was actually collapsed on the passenger front side. A lot of Fords do that, I guess, because the I-beam is longer on this side. Maybe it has something to do with geometry. But since doing the swap and it's all complete, it's actually picked up 2 inches, about 2.5 inches of gap between the tire and the fender. And I've rolled this thing back and forth, so obviously the nose is sitting higher now. So it's definitely got some more weight taken out of it. You can really see it on this side compared to what it was. I didn't think a 300 was really much heavier than a small block, but I guess so. And that and all the accessories, and this engine's really bare. I mean, it's a real bare bones deal. Not a whole lot on it. The thing I love is how easy it's going to be to work on. I mean, everything's just wide open, and everything's analog. Mechanical fan, mechanical fuel pump, mechanical gauges. Only thing electronic on it's the ignition and the electric choke. Just can't beat it. Good and simple. Before, with the 6-cylinder, you couldn't even see anything under the hood. Now you can get to everything. And I detailed and painted my frame with a brush and some of the black rust-killing enamel. Not that it was rusty, I just wanted it to be kind of clean and nice. Made new heater hoses and did all the little things. That way it'd be good and reliable. Once it's running and on the road, won't have to do much of anything to it. But that's my update for now. Hopefully in the next video you guys are going to see this thing running and maybe doing some burnouts. But in the meantime, y'all have a good weekend and have a Merry Christmas. I'll see y'all later.